You've atoned through deeds, Black Bear. Take this pair of eyes. You've served the righteous cause, Yellowbrow. These ears are yours. Your power has gathered in you, Yellowbrow. Keep this nose. You've endured hardships, and the eye. Go with the tongue. And the bull, it is the hardest to turn against a sworn brother. You can have his body.
The Destined One's journey is fraught with demons, spirits, and all monsters imaginable. But 5 powerful Yaoguai stand above the rest. In collusion with Erlang Shen, they brought about the impossible and destroyed Sun Wukong, the great sage and victorious fighting Buddha. They split his body, and as reward for their efforts, each was granted one of the great sage's 5 senses, which they have since twisted to selfish or evil pursuits. These demon kings represent the greatest obstacles to the Destined One, and yet must be defeated before inheriting Wukong's legacy. But these characters are nuanced, and nothing is ever black or white. Who exactly are these beings? What are their desires, and why must they ultimately be vanquished? This is the story of the 5 Yaoguai kings that guard Wukong's relics. The wolves and bandits that prowl through forested Blackwind Mountain pay homage to Lord Blackwind King, the human transformation and disguise of Black Bear Guai. He possesses the Craving Eyes relic of Sun Wukong and has only recently returned to the mountain as the Destined One begins their journey. Black Bear Demon has a long history in the mountain, and his seat of power, the Blackwind Cave, dating back centuries to the events surrounding Sun Wukong's travels with Tang Sanzang. In Journey to the West, the Tang monk and his monkey disciple arrive at Guanyin Temple to rest. The temple is under stewardship of Elder Jinchi, a covetous man who had befriended Black Bear and often discussed Daoist principles with him. Jinchi's eye is quickly drawn to Tang Sanzang's brilliant Kasaya robe, and he plots to set fire to Sanzang's room, kill the monk, and take the Kasaya for himself. Jinchi's plan goes horribly awry, and the entire complex is engulfed in flames. The elder commits suicide, and in the confusion, the Kasaya disappears. In conversation with the monks, they state, "There is a mountain due south called the Black Wind Mountain, and in the Black Wind Cave there lives a great Black King. It must have been stolen by that black monster." Wukong dashes to investigate and overhears the Blackwind King talking amongst his friends, White Robe Scholar and Ling Shutsu, about the Kasaya he took and about his desire for immortality, empowered by Ling Shutsu's mastery of Daoist alchemy and refinement of immortality pills. Monkey King slays the scholar outright, scatters the Daoist, and fights the Blackwind King for several bouts, never fully defeating him before the Yaoguai escapes. Wukong seeks the aid of Bodhisattva Guanyin, god of compassion and mercy. Together, they subdue Black Bear Guai while recovering the Kasaya. Guanyin places a golden tightening headband upon Black Bear, and as punishment for his greed, the Yaoguai is forced to study Buddhist sutras under her for generations. In the purple bamboo grove where Guanyin resided, life was usually tranquil. The Black Bear Guai spent his days eating bamboo shoots with Aster and drinking homemade bamboo leaf brew. But his quiet contemplation was shattered by Kang Jin, the Long Princess, and her young ward Red Boy, who brought a summons. Black Bear was commanded, supposedly with Guanyin's approval, to join Celestials and Immortals led by Erlang Shen, the sacred divinity, in attacking Mount Huaguo and slaying Sun Wukong. The Guai was cautious. He had already lost to the monkey in the past, and this act seemed not a scheme condoned by Guanyin Bodhisattva. We hear them talk. "I'm willing to serve, but my abilities are mediocre. I'm afraid I can't handle such an important matter." The Long Princess replied, "Do you think we don't know that? Don't worry, there will be those fiercer and more ruthless than you leading the charge." And so, Black Bear reluctantly joins Erlang and the 4 other Yaoguais in defeating Wukong. Afterwards, Black Bear Guai returns to Blackwind Mountain, but much changed over the centuries, and he must work to re-establish himself as king of the mountain. At once, he restores the scorched Guanyin Temple to past splendor. Once a guardian of the Southern Sea, greed turned him to a slave of misery. The Craving Eyes relic influences Black Bear's mind, already prone to desire, and drives him to selfish pursuits. First, he wishes both to reunite with his friend Ling Chutsu and garner support of the local Wolf Guai tribes, who were led by this Daoist wolf. When he was with Guanyin, he learned the mantra of revival. Harnessing the voluntary self-sacrifice of wolf guais, he brought back old Lingshi from death. But Black Bear was not skilled in resurrection, which we see in the pitiable wandering white, the remnants of Elder Jinchi, and Lingshi life requires the constant feeding of his own people. The old wolf retreats to the woods and later commits suicide, which turns the wolf tribes against Black Bear. To restore order, the bear invites persecuted wolves from faraway Shituo to his domain. They're fierce, savage, and conflict with the established Guai communities. The bear next places the craving eyes atop the mountain and uses it to fool lesser Guais into worshipping him and paying him tribute.
I have no idea how to make use of its power, except to enshrine it up there, tricking lesser Yaoguais into offerings.
As a relic of Wukong, it obeys only the Great Sage, and the demon finds no other purpose for it. The Black Wind King is restored, and he rules for many years until the Destined One arrives. Black Bear Guai must first be beaten in his human disguise before he retreats to the mountain's summit for a final, fiery confrontation. If the Destined One traveled to the hidden, ancient Guanyin Temple to retrieve the fireproof mantle, it can use the vessel to mitigate Black Bear's flaming strikes. Only after he's defeated a second time does the Guai finally relent. He reveals to the Destined One that he's nothing more than a puppet whose strings were being pulled by higher beings.
I was just a pawn of the Celestial Court. If given a choice, who dared to challenge the mighty wrecker of the Celestial Palace?
He claims to not understand nor truly wield the relic given him after Wukong's death. The monkey spares Black Bear's life and acquires the first of Wukong's senses in the craving eyes. Whether the demon returns to Guanyin or pursues his own ends, Black Bear no longer presents a threat. The fallen Kingdom of Sahali, now known as the Kingdom of Flowing Sands, is overrun by rat Yaoguais, and its crumbling ruins are battered constantly by the gales of Yellowwind Ridge. Deep in this region's heart, the Yellowwind Sage summons his formation and attempts all manner of magic to absorb the power of Sun Wukong's fuming ear's relic. Its whispers and screams seem to have twisted his mind. The sage's connection to Sahali and Yellowwind Ridge is strong, formed over many centuries. He's responsible for both the land's salvation and its ruin. Long ago, the Yaoguai was little more than a yellow-furred marten. He gained sentience after stealing pure oil from a crystal lamp from Vulture Peak in Lingshan Range, a venerated location and seat of both Buddhist and Daoist gods. The marten was branded a thief and hunted. He continued his cultivation during ceaseless sojourning, and after gathering power, happens across the western kingdom of Sahali in the midst of turmoil. For turning their back on Buddha, this land of gold and sand was set upon by a giant beetle named Fuban, released by Bodhisattva Lingji as karmic retribution. The kingdom's army was no match, but fortunately, there was an enlightened monk, yellow of hair and garb, passing through the land. This righteous soul could not bear to witness woe and injustice, and aided the armies in slaying the wicked insect. In gratitude, the king honored him with the title of royal sage, and the monk resided in the kingdom for several years. As a branded thief, the sage couldn't remain forever, so he and his followers left Sahali. But in the surrounding Yellowwind Ridge, he came across another religious assault instigated by Bodhisattva Lingchi. The Bodhisattva planted Buddha heads along the ridge to drain Guais and mortals of their will and to consume them. A stone Guai attempted to destroy the mystical heads, but they instead became a part of it, corrupting its heart and its mind, and transforming it into Shigandang. Yellowwind Sage's righteous soul was stirred to action, and he beat the Guai to dust, splitting its essence in two as gifts for the mountain's chief stone deities. Twice Lingji enacted his version of karma, and twice he was denied by the yellow-furred marten. At least contempt, and perhaps hatred, stir within Lingji. Legend goes that he sought Buddha's aid in finally subduing the Guai and was gifted two weapons, the Wind Tamer Vessel that could mitigate Yellow Sage's powerful Samadhi wind, and the Golden Long Staff that could transform into an 8-clawed long spirit. The Bodhisattva confronts and finally defeats Yellowwind Sage. For his misdeeds, he's taken to a remote mountain and forced into Buddhist discipleship. We hear from Tiger Vanguard's son, "I once heard my father mention that our master despised that bodhisattva of some sort, their so-called master-disciple bond." In the years surrounding Journey to the West, Yellow Sage escapes his exile and returns to the ridge. Here he crosses paths with Sun Wukong after his Tiger Vanguard kidnaps Tan Sangzang. Rumors spread that the Tang monk's flesh will grant immortality, and the Yellow Sage prepares to consume him. Wukong kills the Tiger Vanguard, but the Wind Demon is beyond even the Monkey King's prowess. The belt that girded his armor was dragon brilliant. His shining breastplate dazzled the eye. With a sharp steel trident in his hand, he was no less awesome than Sage Erlang. The Samadhi wind is insurmountable, and Sun Wukong is forced to seek aid from Bodhisattva Lingqi on Mount Sumeru, the errant sage's master. Lingqi drops the golden long staff on Yellow Sage. It transforms into a powerful long that pummels the Yaoguai into submission. Lingqi drags Yellowwind Sage back to Sumeru to face Tathagata Buddha for his crimes and mete out his punishment. Sometime later, Erlang Shen and the Celestial Court approach the Marten to aid in Sun Wukong's defeat, an opportunity to take revenge on the monkey that bested him. For his efforts, Yellow Sage is given the Fuming Ears relic. Greater still, the sage returns to Yellowwind Ridge and exacts vengeance against Bodhisattva Lingqi by decapitating his former master. How a Yaoguai could overcome a Bodhisattva is a mystery, though it's heavily implied the sage was assisted by the Celestial Court. With Lingqi's defeat, the Yaoguai asserts authority over Yellowwind Ridge. The King of Flowing Sands pledges fealty to his old advisor, but the Tiger Vanguard's sons resist. Angered by the death of their father, they challenge Yellowwind Sage, but are easily dispatched. One becomes the new Tiger Vanguard and sworn protector of Yellowwind Formation, alongside Stone Vanguard. We hear of the sage's plan in their meeting. With my master's most prized vessel in my grasp, I can surely absorb that thing. I mean to enter secluded meditation, starting today. I have appeased those old rascals from above, yet it will be wise to remain discreet. Yellowwind Sage, like Black Bear Guai, can't control Wukong's relic, so attempts to harness its power through Lingqi. He meditates within Yellowwind Formation, but the rest of the ridge suffers. Rains cease, villagers are afflicted with wind poisoning, towns fall quiet. The sage, once a noble soul and arbiter of justice, is deaf to the pleas of Yellowwind Ridge. In his desire to silence Buddhist and Daoist lies about him, in his drive for retribution, he brings calamity upon those he once protected. The Destined One, aided by the Wind Tamer vessel, disrupts the Yaoguai King's ritual. With Yellowwind Sage's defeat, Bodhisattva Lingqi's head and power are restored, and the monkey claims Wukong's Fuming Ears. In a moment of tragic irony, the Yellow Marten, branded a thief, forced into discipleship and exile, but with honorable soul, is brought low, and a selfish, perhaps devious Buddhist is restored. In the tall peaks and ceaseless snows of the remote West, Yellowbrow Demon rules as Buddha over his cult of ultimate bliss, through deception and corruption brought on by the power of the hubris nose, third of Sun Wukong's lost senses. Yellowbrow represents perhaps the greatest threat to both Sun Wukong and the Destined One, but he comes from religious, humble origins. He was once a page and ward of Maitreya, the future Buddha, and studied Buddhist scriptures alongside Jinchanzi, second disciple of Tathagata Buddha. As the pair took their lessons, they developed a close friendship and shared a rashness and skepticism that bordered heretical. Jinchanzi was impatient and disrespected Buddhism, while Yellowbrow was envious of the Buddhas and secretly wished for their position. Jinchanzi was banished to the mortal realm to relearn the significance of Buddhism and born as Tan Sangzang. Yellowbrow refers to his association with the monk in this dialogue.
Ages ago, Jinchanzi and I were peers. Ever questing with goodwill, he was.
And we hear it as well when the two cross paths during their reincarnations in Chapter 3's animated short. In Journey to the West, Yellowbrow steals from Maitreya his human seed sac and bell-ringing cudgel, then flees to the mountains to establish Little Thunderclap Monastery. He cultivates his power as a demon and attracts many lesser demons or those brought in by his deceit. His monastery is not Buddhist at all, but a facade for him to act out his dream of being a revered Buddha. The Tong monk and his disciples happen upon the monastery, and all but Wukong fall for Yellowbrow's trap. The demon removes his illusion to reveal matted hair held in place by a thin gold band, eyes flashing under a pair of frowning, yellow brows. Before taking Tong monk hostage and capturing the great sage within a pair of magical symbols. Chapters 66 and 67 relate the events in detail. Not once, not twice, but 3 times does Sun Wukong call on celestials and immortals to defeat Yellowbrow, and all 3 times they are captured within the demon's seed sack. The heavenly mansions and nature spirits, the turtle and snake generals of true martial god, Little Prince Zhang and his 4 demon-slaying captains, all beaten. It's only with the arrival of Maitreya that Yellowbrow is finally subdued, after the Buddha transforms Wukong into a watermelon and tricks the demon into swallowing it. Yellowbrow had a taste for godhood, but ultimately was reduced to his previous position. So when Erlang Shen approaches with an opportunity to reclaim both his lost fantasy and revenge against the Monkey King, Yellowbrow seizes it without question. He's gifted the Hubris Knows sense, aptly named, for it's the Demon King's own hubris that leads to his defeat. Yellowbrow returns to the New West, where he builds a newer, more impressive Thunderclap Monastery, disseminates his false religion, and settles old scores with past rivals. He once more comes into possession of Maitreya's seed sack, but this time imbues it with the power of Wukong's relic. It now stains hearts and corrupts the minds of those trapped within. Of the immortals and celestials he cannot slay, he turns. First, he kills the great snake general, whose bones remain on the shore of Bitter Lake, and he freezes the lake itself to plunge Turtle General into hibernation. Yellowbrow fools both Kang Jin and the Dawn Star with invitation to a false banquet, then captures them within the seed sack. It plays on their fears and desires. Its red mists cloud their judgment. The lore tells us of this interaction. I do have something of that monkey's, right here in this sack. Not long after, when Yellowbrow released her, the Constellation officer had become dazed and bewildered. Please, Master, accept me as your disciple. The third prince and his 4 demon-slaying captains meet a more gruesome fate. Yellowbrow corrupts or kills each of the prince's captains. They become vessels for their new master and chant beguiling spells within the pagoda realm to convert new disciples. To protect his mind, Third Prince mutilates himself by cutting his ears and blinding his eyes. His body rots within a cell. The cult of ultimate bliss spreads far, and the dogma of Yellowbrow Buddha once more becomes gospel. He uses the freezing temperatures to test the faith of his devoted. Many are those who failed, their animated corpses locked in chill. When the Destined One arrives in the New West, it's tricked by Yellowbrow, who presents himself as Maitreya Buddha, before setting loose Kang Jin Long. The monkey is captured and taken to Pagoda Realm, where it must overcome Third Prince's twisted captains, and perhaps save him from anguish. In the Destined One's ultimate fight against the demon, Yellowbrow pulls it into his mystifying seed sack. Rage and anger blind the monkey, who slays the macaque chief, one step towards becoming Yellowbrow's pawn. But in the end, the Destined One's heart remains true, and it overcomes the seed sack. Yellowbrow's hubris in believing himself a god leads to his undoing. As he sinks into the frozen waters, the Destined One claims Wukong's relic. Whether Maitreya will gather his disciple again or leave Yellowbrow's fate to another remains unseen. Hundred-Eyed Daoist Master is actually a disguised centipede demon who administers the Daoist monastery on Yellowflower Mountain and oversees the Zhe estate in Webbed Hollow below. His centuries of Daoist cultivation have grown into an obsession for immortality, and with the envious tongue of Wukong, the master hopes to finally ascend. In Journey to the West, the centipede demon was the superior of 7 spider demon sisters, to whom they deferred as their elder brother. The sisters seduced, raped, and ate mortal men who happened upon their lair. One day the Tong monk and Zhu Bajie were detained by the sisters near their grotto of coiled silk cave. After Sun Wukong defeats them, the sisters run to Hundred-Eyed Demon and beg him to avenge their honor. Disguised as the Daoist master of his monastery, the centipede demon drugs Tong Monk, hearing that eating his flesh will grant him the immortality he has long desired. Wukong offered the Daoist an ultimatum: release Tong Sanzang, or else the Spider Sisters will perish. The demon refuses, and Monkey King is true to his word. In anger, the Daoist opens up his robe, under which 1,000 gleaming eyes dazzle, blotting out sun, moon, and sky, blanketing people with acrid vapors. The great sage equaling heaven was caught in the golden light and yellow smoke. The bested Sun Wukong seeks out Bodhisattva Pilanpo, who gives him an embroidery needle imbued with strong magic and forged by her son, the Dawn Star, within the sun. The needle shatters the Daoist's light, pierces his eyes, and dispels his illusion, revealing his true centipede form. The Hundred-Eyed Demon is taken by Pilanpo, perhaps to be converted to Buddhism, and forced to atone for his sins. The demon is spared by none other than the Queen Mother of the West, equal to the Jade Emperor in the Daoist pantheon.
Only by a plea from the Celestial Court was he spared. The immortals dispatch minions to enact their will, while they remain serene, as if playing a game of chess.
She frees the demon from his penance, in exchange for his fealty to her and her cause. He becomes a pawn amongst immortals. The centipede is taken to Kunlun Mountain and brought into the Celestial Court's plans, where he is approached by Erlang and drafted into the group of Yaoguais that divide up Sun Wukong's relics. The Daoist master takes the envious tongue. Immediately, with the relic's power, the Daoist returns to Yellowflower Mountain, where he reestablishes his presence and strikes at those who wronged him. Miraculously, one of the 7 spider sisters from the past remains. The Violet Spider had shared brief but strong feelings with Zhu Bajie, and his love for her stayed his hand. She now leads a new generation of spider daughters. Through the spiders, Hundred-Eyed Daoist seeks vengeance against Bajie. Surprisingly, the centipede master also comes into possession of Pilanpo's embroidery needle. One theory holds that he severed Pilanpo's hands, one of which grew into the Yaoguai that defends Webbed Hollow, and he stole her needle. But again, for a Yaoguai to cause such harm to a bodhisattva without external support is unlikely. Regardless, Hundred-Eyed Daoist uses the needle on Dawnstar, Pilanpo's son. Though Dawnstar is spared from death, he undergoes a terrible transformation and becomes the Dusk Veil. This is just the first in a series of experiments on essence and will the Daoist intends to employ to cultivate his immortality. He's given by Queen Mother of the West 2 golden celestial eggs, one of which is used on the Dawnstar. The other becomes the Elder Alma Worm. This creature and its eggs transform mortals into Yaoguais, a valuable ability for the Daoist. We hear, alas, the celestial eggs failed to hatch as intended, and I faced severe reprimand from our master. However, this time, I've come to realize that the celestial eggs bestowed upon us were not meant for lofty destinies to ascend. Creating Yaoguais, on the other hand, is an ideal outcome. The Hundred-Eyed Daoist and his spider underlings turn Webbed Hollow and Yellowflower Mountain into a Yaoguai breeding ground. Silk cocoons and eggs turn mortals into monsters, all for them to be eaten or else distilled into elixirs and pills. The Daoist hopes that through this method he can cultivate enough will to ascend Kunlun and attain immortality. When the Destined One enters Zhu's state, it works to free Zhu Bajie from the spiders who had enthralled his mind. Violet Spider still has strong feelings for Bajie and is ultimately unable to kill him. Furious, the Daoist master takes back his power, which mortally wounds Violet Spider. As he transforms into his grotesque self, the Spider Sisters turn on their master and aid the Destined One in its fight. If the monkey had traveled to Purple Cloud Mountain and given peace to the Dawnstar, it comes to possess the Weaver's Needle and can again use the vessel as Wukong had to shatter the Daoist's power and deliver his defeat. On Flaming Mountain, Red Boy, son of Bull Demon King and Princess Ironfan, rebels against his father to lay claim to Wukong's 5th relic, the Grieved Body. None have seen it since the Great Sage's death, but Red Boy knows his father holds it secret. He leads destructive elemental carts and thousands of burned spirits in war with the Bull Guard. Red Boy's tale is tragic and his journey nuanced, a story of extermination, vengeance, and misunderstanding. In Journey to the West, the pilgrims travel through Haoshan and are drawn to the cries of a child tied to a tree. The child begs for release, but Sun Wukong sees through the illusion and knows it to be a demon. When he attempts to throw the child to its death, it transforms into its true self. Red Boy, the son of Bull Demon, who at one time was a sworn brother to Wukong and one of the sage fraternity. Red Boy kidnaps the Tong monk and flees to his cave. He learns that Sanzang's flesh is pure and can grant longevity, so invites his father to a banquet where they'll feast on the monk. Wukong disguises himself as Bull Demon, but is discovered and beaten back by Red Boy's Samadhi fire, a flame so powerful no water can extinguish it. Wukong again seeks the aid of Bodhisattva Guanyin, who through deception tricks Red Boy into sitting on her lotus throne, from which painful blades emerge to trap him. She throws 5 golden bands around his head and limbs to control him, and Red Boy is forced into submissive discipleship under the Bodhisattva. In the years surrounding the Destined One's journey, Red Boy returns to his family on Flaming Mountain, a changed person, following his Buddhist teachings. But this is a smokescreen that hides the demon's true intention, to claim the grieved body he knows Bull Demon holds. When Erlang approached Bull Demon and the other Yaoguai kings to destroy Sun Wukong, Red Boy volunteered, for he desired the power necessary to bring retribution to the Buddhist and Daoist deities that had wronged him. More on this later. When the Long Princess summons Black Bear Guai, her servant Red Boy reveals his desire to join. Red Boy hastily asked Black Bear Guai, "What exactly is this task? I want to leave. Why don't you tell Guanyin and take me with you?" Red Boy, Guanyin has instructed that you must stay here. Even your father has been pressed into service this time. Surely you can see how perilous it is. This is no laughing matter. This desire to attend comes not only from Red Boy's quarrel with Wukong in the past, but also from learning the stirring truth of his own origin. Chapter 5's ending animation and the cinematic following defeat of Bishui Golden-Eyed Beast reveal that Red Boy is not the true son of Bull Demon and Princess Ironfan. He is instead the consolidated essence of the Yaksha kingdom. The Yaksha were a proud and wealthy race in the West, but for reasons uncleared were betrayed by Buddhists and Daoists. Countless armies led by Arhats besieged Yaksha Golden Palace. The king, with his dead son in his arms, was approached by Daoist immortals of the Celestial Court. They promised through their magic the Yaksha race could continue. This red lotus is the essence of your son's soul. To ensure it does not dissipate before successful reincarnation, we will need your life and the water from the river of childbearing. Bull Demon and Rakshasi, the Princess Ironfan, were forced to birth and raise the last heir of the Yaksha race, as penance for their own heavenly transgressions. The soul of a people lives within Red Boy. Initially, when the boy learned of his origins, he clamored for revenge every day. Fearing that his son would bring about his own demise, the Bull King had locked him up for a while and assigned the Bishui Beast to guard him. Through strength and deception, Red Boy escapes his prison and wounds his father, demanding Wukong's relic, but Bull Demon refuses. When the Destined One arrives, Red Boy disguises himself as his sister Ping Ping, tied to a tree, resembling his first run-in with Sun Wukong. The Destined One falls for Red Boy's illusion. The pair fight in front of Bull Demon King, and the demon child is eventually overcome. But again, this is another ploy by Red Boy, who feigned his death and steals the grieved body relic Bull Demon had hid within his own stomach. Possessing Wukong's relic finally gives Red Boy the power he needs to avenge the Yaksha and strike at all those celestials who looked indifferently upon his family's suffering for centuries. He consumes the grieved body and transforms into the Yaksha king. Nothing, not even the Destined One, will stand in the way of his vengeance. But with 4 of the 5 relics already in its possession, the monkey is more formidable than Red Boy anticipated, and the grieved body will only listen to Wukong's true inheritor. Following his second defeat, Red Boy's mother intervenes to spare his life. But, proving his point, the Celestial Court remains indifferent to their plight.
I turn to them. but none offered help.
Like the noble Yaksha, Red Boy would rather die than be enslaved by Buddhists and Daoists. In anger, in anguish, and pained by his father's inaction, Red Boy commits suicide and ends the Yaksha bloodline. What Red Boy couldn't have known is Bull Demon's own grief at answering the summons of Erlang. Sun Wukong was his sworn brother, and out of all the Yaoguai kings gathered to divide the great sage's essence, Bull Demon was the only among them who shared strong bonds with the monkey. To go against such a friend is monumental, something Erlang appreciates. In his final breath, Wukong warns his friend to avoid his body, his relics, all parts of him, as they will lead only to strife.
And remember, steer clear of my remains.
Which brings us to an interesting connection and theory. Erlang Shen, the sacred divinity, is seen as the architect of Sun Wukong's death and of tarnishing his legacy. But Erlang was himself a sworn brother of the great sage and held both admiration and respect for Wukong. He conspired alongside Wukong in secret to bring about the Monkey King's destined reincarnation, free from the golden headband that keeps him chained to heaven's desires. I've made an entire video on this secret brotherhood, which I'll link in the description. Erlang is a complex character, and for his own reasons holds no love for the celestial court or Buddha's western heaven. The spreading of Wukong's relics amongst the Yaoguais can be seen as his own strike against the heavenly pantheon of deities. Each of the Yaoguai kings were at one time Buddhists or Daoist disciples, pawns in the schemes of heaven. Erlang uses Wukong's relics to disrupt this divine chess game and unsettle the pieces. He knows Wukong's senses can only be controlled by the great sage. He knows they hold power beyond belief and amplify tenfold the holder's own ignoble desires. Erlang knows the relics will destroy the Yaoguai kings from within, weakening heaven's hold on the world below. Erlang gives each Yaoguai a relic that corresponds with their own character flaws. Avarice and greed tear at Blackbear's heart. His eyes are lustful and selfish. The craving eyes further such emotions and lead to his undoing. Yellowwind Sage was branded a thief, a liar. His enemies spread falsehoods to destroy his reputation. Lingji's taunts echoed in his ears and his nightmares. To reclaim his reputation as a righteous soul and silence his foes, Yellowwind Sage uses the fuming ears, decapitating the most vocal of his rivals. Yellowbrow, whose desire to outshine the sun and claim the mantle of Buddha, is conceited. Through the hubris nose, he stokes his own vanity and establishes a cult devoted to his worship. But hubris undermines Yellowbrow, and the demon is undone. Hundred-Eyed Daoist is obsessed with immortality and envious of those celestials who've already ascended. The master is given the envious tongue to pursue his ascension, which comes at the detriment of all those around him. But Kunlun casts a long shadow, and heaven remains out of reach. And finally, Bull Demon grieves for his lost brother, punishes himself for his role in Wukong's death. But he is the wisest among them and listens to Wukong's warning. Bull Demon King doesn't try to use the grieved body, but rather hides it deep within his own body, fearful of the disaster it could bring. 5 Yaoguai kings, austere and grave, join the sacred divinity and avenge themselves with Wukong's defeat. But destiny and tragedy follow them like shadows. Their desires strengthened by the relics in their possession result only in terrible defeat. Thanks so much for watching and listening to this video on the Yaoguai kings in possession of Wukong's senses, and their inspiration from Journey to the West. Let me know your thoughts about these Yaoguai, whose story is most tragic, as well as suggestions for future videos in the comments below. And if you're a fan of lore and storytelling, be sure to subscribe to the channel, check out the podcast where content is uploaded frequently. I want to take a moment to thank my amazing supporters over on Patreon, who make all of this possible. I couldn't do it without their fantastic support. If you'd like to become a lore luminary for access to me, a great community, written scripts, and early video drops, head to patreon.com/thelorebrarians to learn more. Until next time, go forth and explore the lore.